when did you see the mayor of Flavortown? Because to me, it's so absurd and yet perfect at the same time.
Yeah, I think I was able to. It's funny because like the clipping streams and stuff that UFC puts out, like where they don't have the commercials, you can literally see the moment right after the fight where I saw Guy Fieri, and I put the little video out of it. But the fight just ended. I was doing my little thing, getting that energy out. Maybe yelling a little more than I should have been, but so the lighting's like pretty low in the apex. Like the lights are on around the center of the cage. But, I look out and I could see like just this, perfect white hair, bleach blonde, sticking out everywhere, gelled to the max. And I was like, oh, that's Guy Fieri.
What is up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. How are you doing today? Hey, shut up. I don't want to hear what it is. I want to tell you guys we actually have a great guest with us. This guest has been a longtime friend of the show, and more importantly, this is his first time on this incarnation of the show. He was on the verbal tap thing. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. We'll get to him in a second. Hey, if you want to support us, there are very simple things that you can do. For example, you can go on over to HY.PAGE/GRAPPLINGHOUR. Raph, what does that do? Well, if you go on over to that website, you can not only support the show, but for $5 a month, you can see these interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra dollars, you can see extra bonus content that's not available anywhere else, including tape studies, a segment where people roast my competition footage, and extra episodes that we do that are catered to all different sorts of topics, be it steroids or athletes who I competed against, who I had the most respect for, et cetera, et cetera. So if you guys want to support the show, go on over to HY.PAGE/GRAPPLINGHOUR. Also, if you want to help us out a little bit, you can help us reach our goal of building up our YouTube page. We are continuing to get people going on there, so you can go on over to YouTube and become a subscriber over that way. We're going to start putting some exclusive on the different channels, and I'm very excited to put different things. We have a little surprises. I'm trying not to tell you what it is really what it is, but surprises are coming, and I'm very excited about them. And of course, if you guys want to get in on it, you can also join our Discord, where we continue the conversations that we have on this broadcast. All right, let's talk about it. I want to say our guest is like the nicest person in the UFC. I can't prove it, but I've also never seen anybody who's nicer than him. He's also pretty good at jiu-jitsu. And what upset me, and I hate to be real about this, but he's done a great job as a UFC journalist. He's actually covered more events than I covered in the UFC, which I think is problematic. But that's not even why I'm mad at him. I'm mad at him because the matchup that he was given pit two friends of the show. It was him and Jordan Levitt, and I thought, oh no, I don't have a dog in this fight. These are two of our people who are, if you were to take a guess in a bar and you were to look at the two of them, you maybe wouldn't guess them as your top candidates for being fighters, and even more so by their antics of embracing silliness and actually being fun. And yet he came out victorious, and I'm super happy for him. But I have to ask to our guest here, premiering for the very first time, one Chase Hooper. Chase, why did you have to put me through that? Why did you have to take a match against another friend of the show, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. UFC, you don't really get a choice. They're like, do you want to fight this guy or do you not want to fight at all? And that's the thing is like I mentioned in a lot of the stuff leading up to the fight, it's like I was already pretty friendly with Jordan. Like I talked to him a while. I hung out with him in the sauna and stuff, like see him around the PI all the time. So it's like I was already pretty familiar with him, like pretty friendly with him. But it's business, and I knew it was a great matchup. Like I think UFC is getting better about like pitting guys with similar styles against each other because it just makes for such a good fight. And I mean, I feel like it was at least exciting while it lasted. So glad to have at least played my part in that.
Yeah, it was for sure exciting. I had no doubt on that. And, you know, coming off of his last match, of course, he had a Paddy Pimblett as well. So he had some more attention brought to him. And for me, it was kind of one of those things where I know how absurd he can be, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he is a good fighter. So I just thought on paper, I was like, no, this actually does check out. It's just, they're two guys that we like a lot. And I thought there was something that was interesting because from the weigh-ins on, you guys seem to embrace the idea that there are traditions that we have in MMA or in grappling, such as like even the face-off, where you look at each other and you go, this is weird. And you're the first people to acknowledge that. So what did it feel like in those moments? Because what did you guys do at the weigh-ins that just felt like this isn't a normal weigh-in, at least from my perspective?
Honestly, it was before we even weighed in. It was while I don't know if anybody really like. I don't think they really show like how it happens. Like when you're watching the weigh-ins, like you're walking to the scale like one after the other, and you're kind of waiting in a line. You know, queued up. Everybody's thirsty, getting ready to go. So that was well before the face-off, and he was like, because he'd mentioned earlier in the week about how like his wife was about to go into labor. So he was like, "Oh, if that happens, I'm pulling out of the fight." And then like while we were in line, he was like, "Hey, just so you know, I was just kind of, I was just building that up for the media. Like I wouldn't pull out." And I was like, appreciate that, but it was just like just friendly right off the bat, like no tension really. I mean, it just the awkwardness, but yeah. And then the face off, he like tried to puff his chest out. So I tried to oblige and do the same. And yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing to have to do, like face offs. I never look people in the eyes. It's always awkward for me. Um, but yeah, I think we at least made it a little funnier. So just the awkwardness coming out in a funnier way instead of like a aggressive way. So yeah, I mean, it was a good time while it lasted.
I just thought, hey man, for seeing you guys kind of pretend to get like more inflated chest kind of a vibe, I thought this is exactly what I want because if you think about it, if everybody does the same thing, which is trying to look all tough in every single one of those poses, you kind of get tired of it. So we're pretty sure that you guys are going to shove each other because you're both professionals. It's not like you're going to get in each other's faces in a crazy way. And in the past, you even put up an Instagram post that said, "Hey, did I do this weigh-in right? My opponent got all in my face." And I was like, "Nope." And I held my ground and then I beat him. And I go, yeah, you're not going to be the guy who's going to create some sort of drama unnecessarily. But he did mention that to you. Did you have any different reaction or could you see through it right away? Like, you seem a very level-headed person when somebody says, "Oh, my wife's going to go into labor. This could potentially be off." Did you at any point think that was a reality or something that could happen?
No, I mean, I was just concerned with making weight. Really, I was like, as long as I make weight, if he pulls out, I'm still getting paid. So, at a minimum, just at least let that baby wait till Saturday. So, I don't know. I wasn't too concerned. It's out of my control. And it was just nice to hear from him that he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that for the media stuff," which is, that's a huge part of it. And I saw a ton of articles and stuff about that. So, he did his job as far as like hyping the fight up by, creating at least something like for people to latch on to and be like, "Oh, this gonna happen now? Is this not gonna happen?" But yeah, I mean, I was just more concerned with making weight, and it was out of my control. So I was trying to again focus on the things that I could, which was me stepping on that scale and making my first check, and then stepping into the cage and trying to make that second one. So I don't know, I wasn't too worried.
That's awesome. Because I don't know how other people are, but I like to think when you tell me I can't be as fat as I normally am and I have to cut weight, I don't know that my brain operates as it's supposed to. I actually think I get dumber as I'm withheld from food. So that sounds like normal everyday Raph might be about here, but heightened sense can't be eating Raph might have heard that and gotten really like housewives kind of moment. Like, what do you mean? You're not putting on this fight? What am I doing this for? So I'm glad you were able to keep a very level head about it. I want to get into the fight and I want to start going through what that felt like. But before then, would you say that you're reading all these different things? And I guess you have to credit Jordan for this, which is you don't get many at bats at saying, I might have to leave for my wife being pregnant. So you really should take advantage of that, especially if you know that it's highly unlikely that it's going to happen, because it's a good role to play if you're going to go ahead and do that way. But when you are reading these things, how much stuff are you reading about yourself in the news or in these articles? Because, I know you see some of our memes, but I don't know what it's like to be on the receiving end from other people who maybe don't know you, or news articles that tag you or any of that effect. How much of that are you ingesting week of, or do you create like a policy where you just don't look at your phone going into that week of fighting?
I will I did a little bit the week of, just like more the memes and stuff. I try to share them, but like I won't look at people's like predictions for the fight or, the odds or anything. I don't want to look at really anything having to do with what people think is going to happen. Like, I don't need to see that. Like, I don't care about, it's not, there's no positive thing to come out from me dwelling on that. And, I don't check the DMs as much, especially like fight week. Um, and yeah, like the day of the fight, I just put my phone on like do not disturb. I just have my like list of people, like my wife, and then the guys cornering me and stuff. So it's like if they need to get in contact with me, they can. But then everybody else, like I'll talk to you after, or I won't. So I think making that little barrier at least makes it easier for me. Like I don't need to. There's no reason to dwell on what other people have to say, especially when they're not the ones going in there and doing the thing, or it's not my wife saying like I love you, to see you after, or it's not my teammates being like, hey, what do you want from the Starbucks or whatever. So just focusing on the things that actually matter in the moment. I think I used to really dwell on stuff like that, or it'd make me like really anxious seeing anything about the fight. But I think I'm in a lot better spot now. Like that was my 8th UFC fight, so I feel like I'm getting a little used to this thing. I'm getting a good process down, and yeah, cutting out the social media and cutting down on, you know, the other media side of stuff is definitely helped out.
Well, let me see if I can help out here, because I feel like I can do one thing that's logistically helpful for your team, which is this. I know that you're a big coffee guy. Do you fluctuate the Starbucks order? Because if we just put it on record right now and just say, hey, if you can't reach me, I'm not of sound body or mind, or I'm about to go fight, let's put that order right now so that we can give it. Now, if you fluctuate it, I can't be held responsible. But if I were to ask you right now, like right in this moment, Chase, I'm going to Starbucks. What is it that you want?
So for the last fight specifically, because I hadn't drank any good coffee in a while, or at least that week. And it was right after weigh-ins and all that, so I was getting the sugar back in. I got a peppermint mocha. It's not my usual order. Probably would have got like I like caramel lattes, but not when they put the syrup in there. I want the sauce. Syrup is garbage. I don't know why they even have it. But if you got caramel sauce, I'll take a caramel latte any day.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I could understand that a lot. So if that's the case, you mentioned the last time when we were talking that you are a huge coffee guy. Do you have a coffee preparation sort of vibe that you do in the mornings? Because I do, I'm drinking this right now, and I get the Nespresso. So I basically get whatever my wife buys. And the Nespresso is essentially an upgraded K cup nonsense that we were doing for a while. But do you have a coffee snobbery about you, or do you have a certain particular method that is your wake up method? Like, what does a routine order look like for you?
Um, Honestly, I kind of vary it. Like we have an espresso machine. I also have like a little I got it as like a gift. It was like a little like a mocha pot thing. It's like you put it's kind of a fun process because it's like a little like it screws onto the bottom, and then there's water, and then there's like a little like a portafilter thing like you'd have on an espresso machine. You put the coffee grounds in there, you put it into the water area, and then you screw on like the top. It's kind of like a tea kettle thing, like specifically for like coffee. Um, you just throw that on the burner, throw it on the stove. That's pretty good. It's like it makes like little espresso shots. Like when we were in Italy, we saw those everywhere. So I think it's big out there because the Italian way is just drink espresso and that's it. So I mean that's pretty good. But I'll use the K cups every once in a while. I'll use the espresso machine. I don't know. I like to vary it a little bit.
Do you have both, and are you're oscillating between the two?
Yeah, I haven't used it for a while. I got a French press. I'll go through little phases. I uh, I like my coffee, but sometimes I like switching it up a little bit.
I understand that. Unfortunately, when my wife and I ended up getting our Nespresso machine, she looked at the K cup machine, which I don't even remember what it's called now. Oh my God, that's how long it's been. And she was just like, take it downstairs, put it in storage. And I go, really? And she goes, yep, I'm done with it. And I go, well, I guess that means I'm done with it too. Thanks for deciding. That was a good moment. So I don't know. I can drink any kind of coffee. I usually just get the basic black. So anytime my friends need to know, it's just iced black. That's it. Bring it to me, and I'm good. And all right, I'm glad we were able to figure that out because I like the idea that you have an emergency contact being like, "Hey, it's my wife. I love you," and also, "Hey, what's your Starbucks order?" as your two main different things that you're checking during fight week. And I think
Yeah,
one of those, as almost the team dad on my side, is always tell me that beforehand. I'm not going to be trying to get in touch with you the day before to figure out what that is. Tell me what you want week of. And if something changes, you can message me. But you're getting what you expect. All right, let's get into the actual fight itself because it was a little bit of a whirlwind. So I know that you mentioned you're like while it lasted, but it's a good while it lasted because it ended up in your favor. But I remember thinking, especially for having two friends in this one, we say that we're Switzerland, so I just kind of throw my hands in the air and go, I hope it's good, boys. Let's go. And then I saw it and I go, damn, this is really an intense fight. So take us through the fight through your recollection, because I saw you put a really, really good TikTok video about that where you kind of broke down the actual science of getting to the finish. But I'd like to hear your thoughts of what was progressing in your head.
yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned it before, but I really went into that fight expecting us to do a lot of stand up. Kind of like a Colby Usman type thing where two grapplers are canceling out and we're gonna stand up the whole time. Because Jordan's got a really weird, effective grappling style too, but he's like really weird on the feet, but it's really effective. Like he's very kick heavy, but he seems to mess with guys a lot. And I mean, everybody that he's fought that he's stood up with, I feel like it really messed with him. He's very leg kick heavy, likes to throw keeps up the middle. Very minimal hands, but he'll kind of like move his hands, like kind of Tony Ferguson esque. Um, but yeah, I mean, I hit him with one straight off the bat, and then he shot in immediately. I was like, oh okay, like no worries here. Like I'm ready to grapple. But again, I was expecting a lot more on the feet, but pleasant surprise. See, I think he went for the single first. Might have defended that. I ended up rolling back like a little, kind of like a fat man roll. I think that's what they call it in wrestling. Um, I don't know. I feel like I knew Jordan was great in the scramble, but I think I have some weirder entries. I was able to, I think get on top for a little bit. I tacked an armbar. He was defending. It's funny because my buddy that was cornering. He'd had a dream like the week before. He's like, "Oh, I think you're gonna get him with a first round armbar," and I don't even do arm bars, like not super often. And then I got it, and I was like, "Well, if I finish this, like I'm gonna owe him something, owe him some like a steak or something." So I like better not finish that. No, but Jordan was actually he was defending that pretty well, and it was either like go to a bicep cutter or, kind of sit there and try to fight. I didn't want to like mess with the legs too much. So I stayed in that position. And then he rolled over to his knees. I still had the armbar locked in. That's when he picked me up, and not wanting to be the second person he knocked out with a slam. I let go. See where we go from there. I think he went to take me down again, or it might have been the triangle. Either way, he hit me hard in that triangle for sure. Did another little fat man roll somewhere around there. And then we ended up 50-50. He started attacking that leg. I hit the roll. I wouldn't normally step that way. I don't know. It just felt right in the moment. And then took his back, locked in the choke as we were kind of going over. I was trying to hook his arm, and I was really surprised when I had my arm cupping his shoulder. I thought he was gonna like immediately like start defending like you would. But I just felt like he was kind of a step behind on that transition. And I think he went to attack my top hand. So I just, pulled it away and locked it back in. And I was honestly kind of surprised that I was able to lock it in that quick. I was like, is this really like, is this it? Like, is that fight going to be over? And then, he tapped and we got to call it a night. But yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun scrambles. It's kind of, I haven't watched the fight in a while. I try not to, ego trip myself too much. Like, I'll watch it a couple times after, and then I'm like, okay, got all I needed from that. No reason to watch it again. Then it's just me, trying to pump myself up. But yeah, I feel like there were a lot of fun scrambles. I think I was trusting my instincts on the grappling pretty well. And yeah, I think, just showing that I have, some of the best jiu-jitsu, hopefully at 155, against a guy that, again, he's fought somebody like Paddy. He fought Paddy in the O2 arena, like on his home turf. So that was a lot of pressure, and he's still, I thought he won the first round against Paddy. So to be able to go in there and finish a guy of that caliber, that has already fought, some big names, and do it quicker than Paddy did, I feel like is a good, kind of litmus test of where I'm at in the division right now, as far as grappling goes, at least.
I definitely was surprised by this fact, which is that I felt like for two of our friends, as major grappling fans, I felt like you gave us a good grappling bingo because you guys got in such a short amount of time to so many different positions where I did have a real moment where I go, is this going to end via heel hook or like a leg attack? Because that's just a very unusual thing for MMA, but maybe not unusual for people who are very well versed as grapplers. So to me, I was very happy about it. In terms of this, in one of your videos, you did put something where you said kind of your mentality of what you were thinking before the fight starts. And one thing stuck out to me, which was no fear, only action. Now, before I get you to explain that, I think it's self-explanatory, but I'd love to hear the process of how you came to it. It does, just from a copywriting perspective, read like there is only Zool here. Like it's right like about that level. So I want to know where that mantra came from, because it just goes to show what fighters are kind of thinking that maybe you don't necessarily know when that happens.
Yeah, like I think this is kind of something that I've thought about for a while. Is like, if you ask somebody like, and some fighters will try to be macho. You'll be like, oh, like, are you scared? Like, I've had, a lot of people ask that. And I've even talked to some of these guys like Wonder Boy or like, heard Cerrone, Darren Till, like some of these guys that have been around for a long time talking about it. And they're like, yeah, of course I'm scared. Like, you're about to get into a fist fight. Guys will be like, I was about to throw up before we walked out, just the fear and the like, not even necessarily fear, but like the anxiety, the tension of like what could happen, this or that. So I guess that's really like the point of it is like, and for some of my fights, I really did have like these things that I would repeat to myself, like in my head, like 3 or 4 things. And I literally, I had notebooks and I would just like write them over and over and over again. whenever I started feeling anxious, just to be like, uh, I don't know, just kind of easing that anxiety. Um, and I feel like the process that I have for the day of the fight now really helps. Like I'll do a lot of sugar after weigh-ins, but like the day of the fight, I do, my one cup of coffee in the morning, and then I'll eat like rice and stuff as my carbs. Like I'm avoiding sugar the day of. I feel like that gives me a lot of nervous energy. But yeah, I think it's just about, again, like focusing on what I can control. And there's, again, there's not enough time to like think in the fight. So like if you're worrying about things, if you're like, oh, should I do this, do that, being scared of what's going to happen, you're going to be a step or two behind. Like we're on autopilot time now. Like your body needs to be moving like faster than, your mind can control it. So you got to just kind of trust your instincts, and like, again, just keep moving. And I think about it every fight too, kind of before I walk out. I'm like, all right, how am I going to win? Like, I don't really see any ways to win. And then when you're in there, like, you find something. So I just have to tell myself that, like, all right, I always find something. So let's not worry too much about, what's going to happen, before it even matters. So I guess that's kind of part of it too.
Thank you for sharing that, man, because so many people put on a good facade, as you mentioned, and whether it's machismo, whether it's their coping mechanism to get through it, whatever it is, they don't necessarily tell you what that is. And so one of the best things that I like to tell people, especially if they go out there and compete, is you don't have to have the answers, but have a game plan. Like, be open to things changing on you. But what you're mentioning is, if you're walking into a cage, which is one of the hardest things in the world to do, and you have doubts on like, how can I do this? How is this going to happen? It's not like you didn't come with a game plan. It's now you're thinking like, can I really do this? And to show that at any level that you compete at, you will have those thoughts is perfectly normal and logical. And it's also the reason why you see some of these fighters look insane before they walk into a cage and you go, what's happening here? And I just tell our kids, they're like, oh man, he looks like a badass. I go, I think he's kind of scared, dude. Like,
Yeah,
you
sure.
can kind of see it on the opposite side. And sometimes that comes with a little bit of age and experience where you see it and you go, no, I've been there. I've done that too. And, they're obviously a great fighter, but they have those human moments. And that's what makes them who they are eventually. Well, that's great. Were there any good celebrations that happened after here? Because when we talked with you the last time, we were still in the middle of the protocols for all of the, the pandemic and whatnot, and the UFC was pretty strict at the time. But now you get the ability to do whatever you want. And I'm wondering, are you taking that opportunity? Because before it was you went to go get some Italian food. What does the celebration look like now that you are essentially given all of these permissions or freedoms or whatever have you to go do what you want now?
I mean, we would have probably went to that Italian spot if it wasn't on the strip. Because our fight was actually the same week as the F1 races in Vegas.
Oh my God,
So it
that's
was,
right.
I heard it was like horrible trying to get on and off the strip. So we stayed like way away from that because they booked us. We were probably like 30 minutes off of the strip because I don't think there were a ton of hotels. And I mean, I think they were trying to avoid all the traffic and all that. So we were pretty far out of the way anyways, but we went to, got some pretty good Korean barbecue. Went to the first spot that I'd ever had it, which was actually in Vegas. Super, super solid, just getting the team, a ton of meat, and yeah, it was a good time, just again, like a low key dinner with everybody. I'm not really a partier, so, getting some food and some dessert with everybody is a good time. And then, I think we flew out at like 6 a.m. or something. So we, had to wake up at 3:30 and then go to the airport the next morning. So there really wasn't much time to do anything else. But yeah, I mean, kept it low key and then got back home and had the rest of the day on Sunday to just, relax and kind of decompress a little bit.
Well, see, this is how I can tell you're new. I don't have kids, but I'd like to think if I did, it's not even necessarily celebrating as much as, oh, we got sitters for the night. Oh God, we got to take advantage of that, because even when my wife and I have people cover for our dogs, like we take them to my sister's and she's taking care of them, I'm like, the kids are gone, we can go have fun tonight. So you got to take those moments when you get them, young man. They're going to be hard to come by. So just saying, just
Fair
as
enough.
some friendly advice, don't think of it as we need to go hard in the paint because I won. It's no, you have the night off. Please take advantage of it, sir. So I want to ask this as well, because this stuck out to me and I wasn't quite sure the timing of when this was. When did you see the mayor of Flavortown? Because to me, it's so absurd and yet perfect at the same time.
Yeah, I think I was able to. It's funny because like the clipping streams and stuff that UFC puts out, like where they don't have the commercials, you can literally see the moment right after the fight where I saw Guy Fieri, and I put the little video out of it. But the fight just ended. I was doing my little thing, getting that energy out. Maybe yelling a little more than I should have been, but so the lighting's like pretty low in the apex. Like the lights are on around the center of the cage. But, I look out and I could see like just this, perfect white hair, bleach blonde, sticking out everywhere, gelled to the max. And I was like, oh, that's Guy Fieri. And it's funny because we've been watching a lot of diners, drive-ins, and dives, like just while I was dieting and stuff. Like that was our kind of like before bed show. And it was just kind of like funny to, see him there. And then, yeah, he was right where we were walking past on the way out. So, got to dap him up a little bit. And, yeah, I mean, it was a funny, it's funny how those like weird stuff like that sticks out to you, even in the mix of like the adrenaline and all that. But yeah, it was funny. He's a nice guy, should have I was thinking after, I was like, damn, I should have gave him like my shirt or something, and like, you know it's all right, I needed to wear something on the way out, so get him next time.
I mean, you manifested him to show up, if I'm really reading that right. It's not just like some random celebrity showed up. That's a dude who you were watching in the middle of your weight cut that you go, all right, I'm going to go to bed now. Be so
Yeah.
cool if Guy Fieri showed up and then like all of a sudden it's like, oh my God. So you need to start using your powers for good. Like really focus in on them for your next fight, sir, and see what you can go to, because you did mention this, and I don't care what kind of lighting structure you might have had at the Apex Center, but Guy Fieri is a celebrity that will stand out no matter where he is. So that dude could have been in complete darkness and you would have been like, oh, it's Guy. Yeah, I see him. So that worked out very, very nicely. But it's something that, again, I think once I was on the adrenaline of watching friends fight, I took a step back, calmed down, very happy for you. And then I think I turned the channel off for a minute, or I was maybe at the gym and doing something else. And then when I came back to it, maybe a day or two later, I saw you put up the video and I go, I didn't even know that happened. Oh my God. So I'm glad you did. Otherwise, I would have never known that it actually happened. So a very good experience. It was very cool to see you guys have that match. And I kind of want to go back, because for you being on the show before for Verbal Tap, we had a lot of fun talking about all the different sorts of things that was happening in your life at that time. But I realized we haven't really done your origin story. So since this is Grappling Hour, we always like to ask people about their first experiences of when they grappled. For you, what is your first memory or class that you remember? And if you specifically can remember your first day, what about grappling stuck out to you in your very first experience?
Let's see. I think so. My coach opened his gym. I got brought in when I was 8. I thought I was going to do like karate or something. I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. It all sounded the same to me. Like I don't think I'd even really watched a ton of UFC. Like I didn't really know I didn't know what to base this on. But yeah, it's this tiny little gym. It's like probably not much bigger than this little guest room I'm in right now. But just, you know, a little bit of Matt, me and like, you know, 6 other kids on their first days. And yeah, I mean, I think because we worked it so much, like we did like armbar from the closed guard and then simple sweep and scissor sweep. Those were like the very first moves I ever remember, you know, learning. And I don't know why, but like, I think just like where your brain is when you're a little kid, like it's very spongy. And then just like the way that he broke it down into steps, like uh, those are just imprinted in my mind specifically of like, you know, armbar from closed guard, scissor sweep, and simple sweep. I just got those three. That was probably within the first week, but yeah, I mean, I just went in there, 8 years old. It was kind of, I think, probably different than a lot of other people's grappling experiences starting off because it was like a brand new gym. Like all these other kids had just as little idea of what was going on as me. Um, so it's kind of interesting. Like nobody knew anything, and then you know, my coach, I think he was a purple belt still at the time when he'd opened his school, but he was like a Half Gracie guy. He moved up here from California, just happened to move into the exact town that I live in and open up the gym. And yeah, I mean, I've been with him ever since. So it's definitely worked out.
I always like to ask this as the follow-up, which is to pursue grappling or fighting is an insane endeavor. So you have to have a certain amount of love for it. So where does your love for grappling happen? Because obviously you pursued other avenues of mixed martial arts, but here you have gis behind you. You have an upcoming super fight that you're about to promote. So that's the stuff that makes me beckon. Like, where did you actually find a love and appreciation for all things grappling?
I mean, jujitsu was the first sport that I'd ever done. That was like the only time I'd ever really, you know, been out besides like school and stuff. That was the first time I'd ever been out, you know, interacting with other kids in this, you know, in a competitive way or like a team focused way. So it was, you know, I think I really latched onto that, you know, having a little something, you know, not just recreational, but, you know, like a bonding thing, like making friends, that type of thing, which, you know, I'm sure helped. But, you know, once that faded, I think I just really liked, um, I mean, I obviously like all the stuff in jujitsu. Like I'm not a traditionally athletic person and I never have been. And I think jujitsu is kind of perfect for that. It's like the lazy man's sport. So I think, you know, being a long, lanky, awkward kid, like jujitsu was perfect for me. And, you know, MMA was the path that I pursued for, you know, financial reasons. If jujitsu paid like MMA does in UFC, like I'd still be in the gi. Um, but, you know, I mean, I still wear a gi most nights. But yeah, I mean, I think jujitsu was my first, you know, my first thing that I really just dove into besides, you know, like sitting at home playing video games. So it was like, I don't know, I just didn't have much of that time. And you know, I like the stability. I like the role models, you know, too. I feel like my coach is, you know, the one that taught me a lot about, you know, being a man and all that. So I felt like, you know, having good people around is another reason that, you know, I probably, you know, stuck with it in times where I might not have, you know, had the most fun. And I even still go through phases where I'm not enjoying it as much as I could be. But you know, I think at the end of the day, I still you know, I still love doing jujitsu all the time, and you know, doing that for a job is 100 times better than doing anything else. So I can't complain.
With this upcoming grappling super fight that you have coming up, I guess the precursor to getting a little more information about that is what motivates you to compete at that high of a level. Because if you think about it, it does take time away somewhat from your MMA career. So anytime you have to take that investment to do time for just a grappling specific event, like what motivates you to still stay current with it? Because I'm looking at your Wikipedia page, man. I'm gonna be honest here. A 2016 medal as a blue belt's getting a little old now, so I'm sure you want to get some more things on there, but you seem to be a busy man as one of the hardest working people in the UFC. So it just begs the question, you're taking these super fights, it means there's something still there, but what does it mean to you now, and what's motivating you to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my last jiu-jitsu tournament was like a couple months before my second pro fight. And that was at like purple belt. I think I smashed the tournament out, that type of thing. I don't think I even got a point scored on me from anybody else. So it was, I was getting to the point in jiu-jitsu where I felt like no pressure at all. And then MMA was the scary part. So it was like jiu-jitsu was kind of my sanctuary. I was like, okay, it's just a tournament. Like, I'm not going to get beat up. I'm not going to get punched in the face or elbowed or, kicked in the face or anything. And again, like growing up doing jiu-jitsu, that's kind of my home turf as far as that goes. So it's more fun for me than it is like pressure. Like we were talking about earlier, like the pressure and the fear and stuff with the fight. I don't feel that nearly as much with a grappling match. Like I'm able to have more fun with it and enjoy it. Where MMA is like the work side of it. So I guess that kind of motivates me is like, again, like going against names that make sense. I like going against other UFC guys that kind of like you're saying, like they're having to split their time between grappling and MMA versus going against strictly jiu-jitsu competitors where their, only focus is on jiu-jitsu and all the new stuff coming up. So I'd rather compete against, people like I have, like Renato Moicano, Clay Guida, some people that are also focusing on not getting punched in the face instead of just grappling all the time. So I feel like that evens the playing field out. But yeah, I mean, this was a fun matchup. The opportunity to go where the event's at is also going to be a cool one. But yeah, I mean, I just want to test myself and see where I stack up as far as, some of the best grapplers in this, in UFC. I want to, test myself against those guys. And again, it's a little less pressure, but, it's still fun to me and it's a cool life experience. And it keeps my name out there. It keeps me busy. And, it keeps me in a competitive mindset.
I'm all for it because now that you're talking this way, it actually brought up something that I thought the inverse of last night, which was I watched the UFC Fight Pass Invitational. And at the time, it felt like that was designed to bring more UFC fighters or MMA fighters to come play around with some of us jiu-jitsu folks. And I think there's a weird disconnect. I don't know that we found the bridge that works for those two. And yesterday felt like one of the first big events that they did that was without major MMA folks on the card. So plus side of that is yay jiu-jitsu. Negative side is, well, if we're looking to pair you up, you would think it would be the UFC Fight Pass Invitational where you do bring those people out. And if we're heading more toward a sport for jiu-jitsu on that to be showcased, now we got to create a whole new thing. Listen, we had a good thing going, and so now we need to figure out something else. So that to me is kind of like, all right, good to know. But I do believe, especially as we have that moment where fighters are in between fights, they have a half minute to maybe do a grappling match. We probably need to figure out a better system to get you guys utilized in there, because we're going to also start seeing some of those fighters age out of fighting, but who are still more than acceptable and would have great grappling matches. So I think that might be something that you can pass on to your friends if possible, because I did notice here you were an MMA journalist on your tagline here, and it does have an RIP date. It went from 2020 to 2022. So have you hung up the microphone? Like, what's happening here, sir?
Well, I haven't earned the Journalist of the Year for 2023 yet, but I mean, you made a good point though. Like people aging out of MMA. GSP was supposed to compete on there. I think against Nick Diaz, and that ended up not working out. But
hold on.
Like,
Let me correct the record here. because they tried to do that Berenstain Bears to us on that one. They started off by telling us it was going to be Damian Maia. And then all of a sudden, and like I was stoked because I thought, I don't know if GSP can win that, but he's an ultimate strategist. So I definitely want to see that one. And then when they announced that he was injured, then they retroactively were like, actually, GSP was going to take on Nick Diaz. And I go, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's something I would have remembered. So not only did they not tell us that they had switched the fight, which fine, I thought both of them got injured. Something happened. But then when they did announce the actual result of, oh yeah, he's injured, but he's going to do commentary. And I go, listen, all due respect, Mr. GSP, you are one of my favorite people in the world. We did a fight companion yesterday for it, and I didn't really hear too much of it, but I did on occasion hear him being like, oh yeah, very bad. Oh, that did not look very good for him. And I go, I want to see him grapple. Like if we have a choice, I know which one I want.
I want to hear him read audiobooks. I love the French-Canadian accent. He's got a iconic one.
You know what? I just realized that my Spotify, my premium account, it comes with a certain amount of, you get an audiobook allotment. So they just started putting in there. GSP's books on there.
Nice.
And I was super stoked. And I said, yeah, I'll listen to this. I'll start. I never really got the chance to read it. So I had it playing in the background, and it's not GSP reading it. And it literally is the saddest aspect because I go, I'm paying. Well, I guess I'm getting it for free, but I'm subscribing and giving my money. I'm paying for GSP's voice to be. And then when I fought Michael Bisping, I thought this one thing in my head, and I go, that's what I want. So yeah, a little bit of a downer. Do you expect to be named the 2023 Journalist of the Year? And if so, how? Because I don't know how much work I've seen from you on the journalism side. So that's why I'm concerned here, sir.
I think it sounds like out of the, me and the guy that actually writes stuff for UFC Fight Pass, he's also the only judge on the panel. So I think it sounds like he's just going to write me in again. I tried to tell him I don't think I earned it this year, but, I was hoping they'd bring me out to the Fight Pass Invitational, but the budget's a little lower this year. I don't think Conor not fighting probably didn't help. We were hoping, that's what I've heard is the years where Conor fights, they're balling out. UFC's balling out when Conor fights. So, maybe he'll fight next year. I'll get to do some more journalistic content, but there wasn't, not a ton of opportunity for me this time around, but there's always next year. I'll let my guy Walker, the guy that actually writes for Fight Pass, I'll give it to him this year. So
that's very
next year I'll be back.
I would just tell you this. That they're hurting for budget when you see some of the guys warming up on puzzle mats. So yeah, that does make sense. And it might have more to do with the merger. I don't know if it's a Conor year. Maybe I'm completely wrong on this. I don't know financials.
I don't know. The Apex has, cause that's where they did it. The Apex has like rooms with mats already in there. So I don't know what they're doing.
For the life of me figure that out because I saw one group of folks clearly in a white matted area. Yeah. And you know what, though, now that I'm thinking about it, the person who I saw this from was Happy Rolling Jiu-Jitsu. So it could be wrong. He could just be trolling us. I'll go back to him. But I want to say the screenshot he did find was at least at some point somebody rolling up on some puzzle mats. And I just thought, you're at the UFC Performance Institute. Like, you have really high quality areas. It's just a matter of if they dress them up or not.
I don't know. It's weird because like even warming up for fights, like they have the mats already out there. It's not like they move anything. Like these areas are just like out there. So I don't know what was up with that.
I don't know. I'll look more into it, Chase. And if I was wrong, I will be more than happy to send you a note and tell you. But to me, when I see that happening and I just go, okay, yeah, you guys, I totally get it. But it's more so if they don't have the budget to bring you out. I think they call that synergies and redundancies, and synergies is the nice way of saying like, oh, the WWE has one of those. Yeah, we don't need that job anymore. Oh, UFC has one of those. WWE doesn't need it anymore. So maybe that's what happened. You got a reduced role because they looked at it and they go, how much are we paying this? This dude's on the payroll twice.
That's the thing. Is I do it for free. I do it for the experience. But I think bringing Gordon out probably didn't help.
That's probably true too. You're not wrong on that. to bring Gordon and GSP out. I'm pretty sure. Not a cheap affair, even though I think that we could get a discount on their relative lack of experience. Just saying.
I told him, I was like, if you need a new main event, I'll take Nick. If he said he was still ready, so I was like, I'll do it.
Yo, it might not have been a bad match, all things considered, and at the very least, you might have ended up with less negative points. So there is that. All right, sir, let's go ahead and start to close this out. Before we do, I want to go ahead and just tell people, yes, you do have a match that's coming up. I'm pretty sure by the time people see this, you'll have already seen what the announcement is, but it looks very exciting. Great opportunity for you. We're glad that we get to see you. Do I get to know if it's in a gi or not gi?
I don't think it's a gi, and I'll spill all the beans right now if you're all right with that.
Go right ahead, sir.
All right. So it's going to be January 19th, I believe, in Abu Dhabi against, for ADXC, not ADCC, Cousins, I believe, in the grappling side of things, but against the one and only Aljamain Sterling. So when they offered me, they're like, hey, do you want to do a grappling match against Aljo in Abu Dhabi? I couldn't have typed back yes any quicker. So I'm pretty excited for it. Against a former champ and getting to go to Abu Dhabi is cool, but it's also nice in the fact that I get to test kind of how sitting on a plane for 16 to 18 hours is going to affect my weight. And getting to do that when the stakes are a little lower versus like a UFC fight. So there's a lot of benefits to it besides just having a cool match against former champ. It's a great grappler in his own right. So yeah.
Are you going to be practicing your low knees? No reason in particular.
We'll see. I actually haven't seen the rules yet, so you might be able to knee a downed opponent.
Well, if he has his hand on the mat, it does get confusing. So
yeah,
I understand that. But hey, listen, that's a really, really good opportunity. And I love that match. I think keeping you guys active like that makes me so happy because it gives us something to do, first off. Second off, why not? Like you mentioned, if they're throwing that opportunity at you, it's great because you just fought. So that usually means you go back in the rotation cycle. So it might take a minute for them to figure out what's next for you. So why not be active? The only thing is, it does mean maybe your Christmas gets a little bit more, a little tidier in terms of what you're eating and whatnot.
Yeah, I'll be dieting a little bit. I've had I'm getting on close to a month of, eating whatever I want. So I'm definitely ready to get back in shape and diet down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a great matchup. And like I said before, it's good for me, I think, to stay in these competitive mindsets. Mm-hmm. And, I'm trying to fight more often, but, there's still, coming off of this fight, not getting beat up too much. There's still plenty of room to, stay busy competing. And again, this is one for the resume for sure. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go and put the camera on you, and you can go ahead and thank any of your team members, your family members. Just give a shout out to anybody you want to. Now that you're a little bit more coherent, because, sometimes they put the microphone and they're like, hey, here you are. Tell us about your thing. Did you feel crazy in there? Did you enjoy doing what you did? Look, there's Guy Fieri. Answer this question now. So there's a lot of emotions that happen. So shouts over to you, and feel free to shout out any sponsor you want to, sir.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to my wife letting me do this interview right now. All my team at Combat Sport and Fitness, my coach, Jeff Hoagland, who, again, I've been with since day one. Probably give a shout out to these guys. Oh, I messed that up. Oh, there's some over here. CTRL, got the shirt on. The homies gave me all the gis. Oh, my friend Charles here is going to make an appearance last minute.
Oh, my God.
Shout out to him as well. And, yeah. Yo,
Charles definitely looks like he is part of the Star Wars family. This dude, he looks like basically a Jawa, and look at how cute he is.
I wanted to get him an Ewok costume, but it didn't end up happening. Maybe next
wife,
year.
my wife got pajamas, Christmas pajamas for both of our dogs, and didn't do the right sizing. So I had one dog just like staring at me like, "Why are you letting her do this?" And I go, "I don't know, man. I'm so
Fair
sorry."
enough.
So, well, Chase, I appreciate your time. Stick around for a second. I'm going to say bye to you off air, but I appreciate you. Congratulations. The Battle of the Grappling Hour, friends. I'm glad you pulled ahead, and much love to Jordan. He's a beast too, but you guys provided a very good clash, and I'm very, very happy for you, sir.
Definitely. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right, you guys, that's about to do it for us here. Oh my God. I can't turn off the camera when that happens. That's going to do it for us here at the Grappling Hour. Just a couple quick reminders. If you guys want to go ahead and do us a solid, you can become a member of the Grappling Hour family by going on over to HY.PAGE /Grappling Hour. For $5 a month, you can see these interviews 30 days before anybody else. You can also see tape studies, tape match breakdowns with the actual athletes themselves, breaking down their matches from prominent UFC, LFA, all the major grappling organizations, etc., etc. Bonus content not available anywhere else. That's for early access, $5, and premium, a few extra dollars more. Additionally, if you guys would be so kind, you can like, subscribe, and comment here on our YouTube page. And on our YouTube page, it's very simple. All you have to do that is you just go on over, you give us a nice little like, a follow, and then you give the notifications. And we're coming up, we're beasting up these numbers, and new content coming in 2024. And finally, as a nice little thing, if you want to join our Discord, you can see previews and little information that we don't put up anywhere else. So the Grappling Hour Discord is where we put up all the different connecting tissues, if you would, or the discussions continue on there. That's going to do it for us, you guys. We appreciate you for sticking around. We appreciate you for watching this episode. Thank you guys so much. It has been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.